What is so tricky in the workplace right now is we can definitely feel a shift in the economics in this country, and we're feeling a lot of pressure. What's happening is the people who own companies, who are emotionally invested in some of the quality, oftentimes are disconnected to what's actually happening on the front lines. In the meantime, all they see is bottom line. So they're putting pressure on middle management to manage the bottom line, being how much the company makes and essentially sustainability of the company. Can the company make enough to continue to be a company and exist? Middle management, as a result, are less concerned about quality of product or services or whatever that is, and they are in turn focused on bottom line as well, because that's what their bosses are pressuring them to do. And so then what that forces the employees that are actually acting out the product making or the services is to figure out ways to cut corners in order to survive under that kind of pressure. Basically having fewer resources, less support from upper management with regards to understanding the reality of what it takes to provide those products or services, and at the same time needing to meet that bottom line and stay employed by producing enough or working enough or providing services enough. And so yes, it's a huge conundrum, and it is so much pressure on employees, and a really scary place to be in, because the idea of doing a good job in order to increase your value in a company doesn't necessarily apply anymore under that kind of circumstance. However, on the flip side, doing something that might be more economic for your company might force you to relinquish some sense of integrity. And so we're constantly juggling integrity versus politics, essentially, and production and economics. And so basically what has to happen are several things. One, are you capable of doing what's being asked of you? Just flat and simple. Is it even possible? Are you setting yourself up for success, or are they setting you up for success, or is it already, regardless of what you do, heading in a not so great direction? Two, do you really understand what the priorities are of the people who work for you? Do you really understand that? I think it's so important for us to check in. Do we really understand what they want? Because the thing is, what will happen is we're wanting one thing, they're wanting a different thing, and you don't understand why they don't get you, essentially. But what's important isn't that they get you. Oftentimes it's, do you get them? Do you understand what their objectives are? And then lastly, knowing their objectives, can you buy into that? If their objectives aren't to make the best food, like to make the best burgers in the state of California, but your objective is to be the best chef and to make the best burgers, you're constantly going to be fighting. It's constantly going to be an internal battle. And the opposite, if your objective is just to make money, but their objective is to make the best burgers in California, again, it's not going to work. So part of it is finding a workplace where your value systems at least collide in some arenas. Not necessarily all of them, but where we find the biggest struggles is where our value systems don't match up with our employers. And sometimes that means there's time for change, or it's a time to adjust our objectives within that company. So, okay, they don't really care about being the best burgers. I enjoy working, but maybe I don't need to work so hard. You know, I don't need to work as many hours or put as much effort into being the best burger and burn myself out, because they don't care about that. They just care about bottom line. Or I can find a place that is focused on being the best burger joint in the world. And so part of it is figuring out where your priorities are, what your values are, and what you're needing to get out of it. You may just be needing a solid job, and that's okay. People being jerks at work. A toxic workplace is very difficult to work in. There are things that you can do to set up some boundaries and to just take care of yourself in a toxic workplace, but we can't control other people. And so part of it is also, again, checking in with yourself and understanding, okay, you know, one, maybe this isn't the thing for you forever, this kind of environment or these kinds of people, the people who have a different attitude about work. For example, I know I do not do well in workplaces where people are not at least somewhat emotionally invested in the services they provide. It is really important to me that my services are top notch, and I feel really uncomfortable in environments where people just like to clock in, clock out, and they're just there to get a job done and get paid at the end of the day. So I've noticed that that is not a strong environment for me. Can I survive for a short period of time in order to make a living? Yes. So it's figuring out what you can tolerate, and there are, as scary as it is to change jobs, there are a million jobs out there. I think the big thing is knowing that you always have options, at least in the world that we live in right now.